She said that she has slept with so many men, between 100 and 200, that she lost count of her number of conquests. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over two different articles dealing with the subject of born-again virgins and essentially born-again celibates. And in these two articles, the first one is dealing with a woman who is 30 years old, recently had a kid, and has claimed to have had relations with over 200 dudes, which she thinks. And she tells stories about how there were times where she'd have 6 different dudes in a week, one time 6 different dudes at the same time, but then she got pregnant, had a kid, but all of a sudden now she is going to be completely celibate, giving up that lifestyle. And it's interesting when you hear this because anybody with a brain's thinking, yeah, sure. They're pretty much living like that, and all of a sudden it's like, boom, well, now I'm going to be super mom here. Not going to change, I'm going to change my ways, and that's going to be it. Yeah, right. But in this Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 world, nothing shocks me anymore. Entertaining one there. And the second article is about a gal who decided at a young age to become a born-again virgin, where she obviously had relations with dudes, but then decided one day, you know what, never mind, I'm going to have a little ceremony or something, and therefore then I will then just magically make everything disappear, which I always thought was pretty funny and silly. But anyhow, guys, can't make this stuff up, so I'm going to get into it. So the first article, titled, A Self-Confessed Sex Addict Who's 30, who slept with 200 men and lost her virginity at age 12, says she's now celibate after becoming a mother. A self-confessed sex addict, I read that part, Laurie Jade Woodruff, 30, used to sleep with up to 6 men a week, but the birth of her 18-month-old son Henry made her change her ways and join a support group. 200 dudes that she thinks, 6 dudes, different dudes a week. Good Lord. Now, there are definitely some pictures of her, and she's pretty. I got to give her credit. Miss Woodruff from Sheffield told The Sun that since attending the SCX and Love Addicts Anonymous meetings, she's been celibate for, wait for it, 4 months. 4 months, okay. Let's see if she can make 6 or even a year. But the young single mother, who has since published a semi-autobiographical novel, Diary of a SCX Addict, did not have an easy path to her present chastity. She said that she has slept with so many men, between 100 and 200, that she lost count of her number of conquests. Well, that's a big gap between 100 dudes and 200. Okay, so I think she'd be a little more clear as to where she was in terms of body count here. And, the old joke about how if a guy says a number of his conquest, divide that by 3 because he's usually lying through his teeth in terms of the number. Ask a gal, multiply times 3 because she's lying through her teeth as well as being, kind of embarrassed by that. So on that basis, it could be anywhere between 300 to 600 here. Her loss of virginity as a 12-year-old was just the start of an obsession that took over her life. She admitted that the underage SCX was wrong and that her desire extended to both sexes. On one occasion, when in her 20s, Miss Woodruff had SCX with 6 men at once at a Liverpool party while her ex watched. 6 dudes? I'm trying to imagine the logistics of this whole thing here. I mean, there's only so much room on her to a guy to do their business, unless somebody is maybe standing in line, handing out mints. I don't know. You guys can use your imagination as to what the other guys are doing because there's so many entry points on her for the 6 dudes. She says, I was sleeping with several men a week and didn't even feel like it, she said. I felt powerless to control my desires and would turn SEX to soothe me all the time, she added. Ms. Woodruff would meet for men for SEX who had merely sent her compliments on Instagram. She did not need dating apps to find a partner because they came to her. Well, don't tell guys that, otherwise she's going to get bombarded on Instagram from dudes complimenting her now. The author added that the 6 big relationships that she has had have not lasted long because her partners could not handle her promiscuity. Well, gee whiz, imagine that. A guy actually doesn't want his girl out there hooking up with other dudes. I mean, God forbid. As she and Henry's dad, Ian, split up because of her addiction, she added, But Miss Woodruff only realized that she needed to get help when, rather than prioritizing her son, she was too busy obsessing over sex and sleeping with controlling men. She says, to be dominated has always been my thing, and I became a slave to this type of guy, she said. She was stalked twice by men who had got the wrong impression, and so, realizing that she needed to prioritize her son, she took the self-diagnosed quiz on sex and Love Addicts Anonymous quiz. Regular meetings with other addicts came soon after, and Miss Woodruff signed her up for their 12-step program to cope with the sex addiction. She said that, as well as having kept a diary throughout her struggle, it was through meeting other addicts that she had the idea for her novel. Many of the women she met had similar problems to her on their own path to addiction, including dysfunctional families and abusive relationships. Well, that's usually definitely one of the stereotypes, dysfunctional families. She said they all felt a burning shame when they wanted to turn to sex, Miss Woodruff added. There was a discrepancy between men being legend or a player if they were promiscuous and highly sexed women being judged harshly. Miss Woodruff said it was a relief to meet women who felt similarly judged. She said there's no need to feel ashamed anymore and has now gone 4 months without sex, where she previously could not go 2 weeks without a fix. What do you mean 2 weeks? She was talking about 6 different dudes a week, and at one time she had 6 different dudes servicing her at a party. 2 weeks. She says monogamy is now the aim in the 30-year-old addict, but she will always be highly sexual. Well, I wish her luck, but given her track record, good luck there. And there are people that got problems, I will acknowledge that, but you never know nowadays, again, with the stories I go over, the Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 world, if indeed there truly she has an addiction, or just simply she's kind of like your average college girl nowadays. Who the hell knows? But well, good luck to her, but if all of a sudden she's going to be monogamous and can be the type that just can be with one dude and all that, good luck there. I would not want to be the guy that she suckered into thinking that she could be just with him, because usually these things don't go very well. Now, the second story, titled, Why I Decided to Become a Born-Again Virgin. Now, we're going to cover the born-again virgin thing, which I think are just, well, ridiculous. So this girl starts out, says, growing up in the Christian church, we talked a lot about how virginity was the greatest gift you could give to your husband. In our culture, not having you-know-what before marriage was just a rule you didn't break, even though no one had ever really explained why this gift was so great. The importance of virginity was ingrained in my head, and I assumed I'd wait for that special person, no problem. Then I turned 16 and met a guy I liked. We were in math class together, and he was a musician, which was totally appealing to me. It sounds weird, but even though I liked him, I was surprised I wanted to be intimate with him. I never thought I wanted to have sex because my friends and I, in our early teenage years, found the idea of sex to be so unappealing. The stuff we learned in school probably didn't help. We actually been taught that women don't enjoy sex, and she says, I know, what? We assume we wouldn't like it either. Well, let me make something clear. I don't care if both men and women are hooking up, but there's a difference between you got a boyfriend and you got a girlfriend, okay, as opposed to what we have nowadays in your stereotypical Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 world. It's a difference if you have, again, let's just say you're in your teens, high school, college, and then you meet whoever that is, that special someone later in life, good luck there, but fine. It's one thing if it was just people you had actual relationships with over time, as opposed to just 6 dudes in a week like the other one. We got one extreme to the other here, but you get my point. But to make it out like you can't ever have it is just a bit extreme in my opinion. There's a balance. She says, it turns out I did want it. We made out before we started dating, so once we made our relationship official, the physical part moved pretty fast. Thinking back on it now, no one told me how strong your sexual drive is, so I guess I wasn't prepared to deal with that urge. Well, she's 16 years old. These are teenagers. What do you expect? She says, probably a month or so after we began dating, we started touching each other. 5 to 6 months in, we had oral. I justified it by telling myself that it wasn't really sex. But man, that's pretty damn intimate. I felt guilty for crossing the line, but not enough to stop, which was totally confusing and upsetting for me. Sounds like she needs an older sister or someone to go to talk about these types of things, if it's the right person. The details are fuzzy about the night I actually lost my virginity because it wasn't a great memory. We were hanging out at his house the summer before I went to college. This was a year after we started dating, and I was 18. We were making out, and finally I was just like, what the hell, let's do it. He and I were fighting a lot around that time, so I think my resolve to stay a virgin was just wearing out. I asked him to put on a condom, and we started having you-know-what. About 2 minutes into it, I freaked out, we stopped, and I went to the bathroom. I'm surprised if this was I don't know if this was his first time. I'm surprised he lasted 2 minutes. Well, notice here she waited a year. Okay, that's a long time when you're that age. And she was 18 and adult. When I came back, he told me it didn't count since it was so short. I know he said that to make me feel better. Anyway, I believed him for a long time, but now I'm able to accept that we actually had you-know-what and definitely wasn't great. Well, guess what? Usually isn't the first time. We broke up when I head off to college, and not long after that, I wasn't praying anymore. And I stopped taking communion because I thought, well, shit, I'm not a Christian at all now that I'm having sex, and God doesn't love me. I know I got conservative people that watch me. I know I got religious people that watch me, and I respect you, but I think that element is a bit extreme. After starting school, I felt a sense of freedom. For the first time, I was out on my own, making my own decisions. College gave me a healthy distance and perspective from the conservative school and culture I grew up in. I started to heal from my bad S-word experience and got to know God outside the religion that I was raised in. When I read the Bible for myself, for fun, I saw God from a different perspective. Damn, she read the whole Bible? Warning, God-heavy thoughts ahead. After reading the Bible, I realized he had forgiven me for the mistakes I made, sexual and non-sexual, and that I was worth more to him than my virginity. Learning that my sexuality wasn't a separate or an evil part of myself helped my attitude change a lot. My sexuality is a healthy, integral part of what makes me a whole person, and my desires for my intimacy are totally normal. I felt a lot more at home and at peace with my body. Now we're getting to the good stuff. Bear with me, guys. As I met more people who were open and honest about the real difficulties of living a Christian life and the happiness of following Jesus, I wanted to start abstaining from sex again to honor God's wishes for me, even though I knew he'd love me either way. During the second semester of my freshman year, I became a born-again virgin by vowing to forego sex until marriage, but it wasn't a success right away. Imagine that. I hate to break it to you, but just suddenly saying, you know what, I'm a virgin all over again, hallelujah, isn't going to do it, okay? What's done is done as a physical act, okay? You can't change that. Still, if you just want to say, okay, you know what, maybe now I'm going to wait for my future husband or whatever, but don't I don't hear I'm born again. You're not changing your body over this whole thing. She says it was a messy process. I hooked up with more guys. What happened to that? What happened to the born-again virgin? She became a born-again virgin, but then, never mind, I hooked up with more guys. Sometimes while I was drunk. Aha! Blaming the alcohol. Blaming Satan. That was his fault. I started dating a super hot guy who I had a crazy chemistry with. I knew I couldn't take him back to my apartment because the temptation would be too much. After a few months, it was pretty clear we needed to end things for unrelated reasons. But I think abstaining from being physically intimate with him gave me the emotional clarity to evaluate our relationships. After a year of completely swearing off men, I hooked up with 2 more guys. Again, what happened to the born again thing? Is it like, okay, I'm born again today on Tuesday, but on Friday, I met that guy over at the bar, so we'll have fun again, but then I'll become born again on Saturday. And then I'll meet another guy the next Friday out at the club, and I'll become born again on Tuesday. Anyhow, it says here, she met some guy, hooked up with 2 dudes. We didn't have sex, but it was still upsetting because I thought I could resist the temptation, but I couldn't. That summer, going into junior year college, I traveled abroad with a group of Christians, which was an amazing experience. I felt completely overwhelmed with God's love and freedom. When I came back to school that fall, I don't know what had exactly changed, but I didn't do more than kiss any guy after that. I was 21. That's where I draw the line today. 3 years later, I think about what led up to me becoming a virgin again and realizing that I was just being human. You're not a virgin again, okay? If you make the decision that, okay, I'm no longer going to, ride the carousel, okay, fine, but don't, it's just silly. My friends who are attempting to save sex for marriage are actually a pretty wild bunch. We're people of faith for sure, but we have a great sense of humor. We laugh how odd it is to not have sex, and we definitely don't avoid talking about our virginity. It might sound weird, but it's helpful to feel a part of a community when you're trying to abstain. I've heard lots of communities, I've heard lots of clubs, organizations, but I have yet to hear of a born-again virgin club. So I guess there's something for everybody. Our biggest complaints are that we sometimes feel like we're missing out on a lot of fun, and that staying a virgin is just plain inconvenient. You're not a virgin. Who wants to pay for 2 hotel rooms on a trip when you could just have 1? Sometimes I feel bad for some of my older unmarried friends in their 30s that are still waiting, but I admire them for honoring God even though they're not sure how long they'll have to wait. I also am not naive anymore. You've convinced yourself you're a virgin again, but you're saying you're not naive? I get why people want to make sure they're compatible in the bedroom before committing to someone. And I know there's a chance that my future husband and I might not have the best sex in my life. But marriage still seems like the ideal context for sex to me. Two people who are completely comfortable with each other, completely committed to each other, and unconditional love with each other. It makes sense to me that deep trust and faithfulness can lead to passionate, uninhibited sex. That's what I'm waiting for. Well, I wish you luck with that. And I seriously do. But don't tell me or the world that all of a sudden you're magically a virgin again. And after many rounds of, okay, I'm a born-again virgin today, then I met another dude on Friday, now, oh, never mind, forget that. And round and round you go. Okay, you're no longer a virgin. But if you decide one day, so that's it, I'm going to behave myself now to meet my guy, okay, fine, that's your business. But just remember that you can get together with this future guy and you may have no chemistry and it can be a mess. And some of these gals, I've done a lot of these stories where these gals say, you know what, I'm going to meet my guy, never had sex before, they get married, and then they lose it. And the next thing you know, they're hooking up with dudes left and right. So you just never know. But anyhow, guys, that'll be entertaining here. The gal who claimed with 200 dudes, even though she wasn't quite sure about that, and all of a sudden now she's going to become celibate. I wish her luck, but good luck with that one. But it's interesting with that one. I have to wonder if she's going to raise her son, how he's going to be raised. Is he going to be raised to be the perfect gentleman? In other words, the type of guy that she never would have given the time of day to, or something else? I don't know. And this girl here, the born-again virgin thing, it just cracks me up whenever I hear it. But anyhow, guys, that'll be a pretty funny one to go over here. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you come across a pretty entertaining story you'd like me to cover, email me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. I'll definitely cover it down the road. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.